Hi, I'm Banjo from Mobile Tutors. Today I'm here with our student Jayan and Jayan's dad Rakesh. And we taught Jayan in 2024 for around a year. And what we taught him was maths and sciences back in 2024. So, Jayan, what were your grades and confidence like before joining Mobile Tutors?
My grades, they weren't what I expected
Yeah.
because I was stuck at like a 4 for maths, and for sciences I was stuck at a 5.
Yeah.
Um, so that didn't really boost my confidence. I mean, it wouldn't boost anyone's confidence if you were getting grades like that.
Yeah,
But especially with the career path that I chose,
What did you want to go down?
I wanted to go down the path of medicine. I've known for a while.
Yeah.
And obviously it's in quite high demand and it's quite high competition, and you need those top grades to get those top qualifications.
So the next thing I want to go on to, Jayan, is what were you struggling most in school, like in your subjects like maths and science? What were the main things you were finding difficult?
I think, like, as a general overview, it was mainly the wordy questions, the lengthy type of questions, especially for maths.
Yeah.
It's just picking out the minor details and the minor numbers to actually get to your end result.
Yeah.
That was what I was struggling on. And for science, I was mainly struggling on memorizing most of the detail, like just the nitty gritty bits, if anything you could say.
Fair enough.
So I couldn't really apply it at the time to any of my answers.
So the next thing I want to go to, not to you, Jayan, but to your dad, Rakesh, is what made you look for extra support for Jayan?
Well, Jayan, because of the career path that he wished to go ahead with, was obviously quite demanding, and he needed the grades.
Yeah.
So he needed some help for that, and so we explored the opportunity of trying to get extra help for him in extra tutoring.
Yeah. So next one I want to ask as well, Rakesh, is what stood out to you about mobile tutors when you found us? I know you said you were looking around at a lot of providers, but what was the thing that really stood out to you and made you want to go ahead?
Well, for me, the most important thing is you have to have a rapport with who you're speaking to. It was I found yourselves very accessible, quite honest,
Yeah.
and it was the way you conducted yourselves. I thought it was very good, and I thought it was professional. So uh, I used my better judgment, and I'm glad it worked out. Because it was the right decision.
Cool. I don't know about you, Jan. I don't think you were. Where were you? Your parents signed you up for. Where were you?
No. Towards the start, initially, obviously, I was just told that there was a tutoring group which they've sort of signed me up for, and I was grateful because I need that extra help. But initially, no, I didn't really know who they signed me up for. But I'm glad they did sign me up for.
There you go. You got to trust your dad's instinct, isn't it? Parent always knows better, right?
Well, if we're gonna put our dedication into paying for something, then I think we have to try and get the best service, and it worked out all right. So we're all very happy, I think, and very grateful.
So before we started with you, Jay, we obviously did the initial assessment, and we gave you like an assessment to do, and that way you could see like what you need help with. I mean, how was that whole process?
I found the process like quite easy.
Yeah.
It allowed me to sort of pinpoint, and it highlighted exactly where like my weaknesses were.
Yeah.
So it gave me sort of a clear view as to where I needed to improve, and that's the main thing which you want to get out of it. If you need help, obviously.
Exactly. I think the main thing we saw for you, as you said right earlier, was for maths. It was like a lot of the longer word questions, and I think you didn't really know like the way to go about it, right? What topics coming up in that question, how to break it down, etc. So I think that's one thing we picked up. So the next thing I want to talk about, Jane, is how is it like getting your weekly homework? Just talk me through how you did it. Did you find it pretty manageable, and was it useful?
I think the homework, like as just like generally, it was really helpful to me. It was really good, especially those exam style questions.
Yeah.
So they really aided me in like my mocks, for example, because as my mocks sort of approached or came closer, those exam style questions, they really sort of emphasized how it would be like in the real thing, if anything, and it just helped me out a lot to gain an insight on those.
It's great. And Rakesh, I mean, you can maybe tell me if not, did you have to ever force Jane to do his work, or was he quite a good boy?
Oh, he's a good lad. He's diligent, and it just worked out well because the teaching that you gave, it was relevant.
Yeah.
So he just became more efficient, and his time was served better. So direction given by yourselves. It just, it just worked out.
Good. And I'm glad, you know what, you actually did the homework, Jayan, like you didn't have to be told by your dad or mum to do it. So I think put the work in, right, you get the results. It's not only us, like we need students like yourself who actually going to do the work. I think you clearly did that, didn't you?
That's it. And we all get a result. So, and everybody's happy. So, yeah.
The next thing I want to talk about, Jayan, is like, since you started tutoring with us, I know back when you were in the beginning of year 11, how quick did it take for you to start noticing an improvement in your school performance or your mock exams, etc.?
It took about like 1 to 2 months for me to like notice my improvements, because results don't sort of like come with the snap of your fingers. You have to put in the work and you have to like be dedicated at what you do. And I tried to do that as best as I could, and I started seeing my results gradually improve.
Good. And then was that like, where were those results? Were they from in-class tests or you see these things?
We have these sort of little exams, sort of like taste exams, you could say, which sort of indicate as to where your level is at after each topic.
Yeah.
So they do these like on a monthly basis. So I was sort of getting my data off that.
That's right. These monthly tests, you've seen improvement.
Yeah.
That's a good indication. So the next thing I want to go into, Jane, is how did the classes with us, with the tuition, differ to what you were getting in school?
During the classes that you guys provided, it was a lot more relaxed, and I think that sort of environment really helped me thrive to the best of my ability in comparison to my school environment, because you know how traditional school environment is. It's quite stiff, it's quite strict, it's quite rigid, and it's like quite firm in the way they teach you. So yeah, that's just really,
the main thing.
Yeah.
That's good. Jen, I want to just ask you a bit more of a particular question, but is there a moment in time during the tuition classes where something like finally clicked to you and that stood out to you right now?
Yeah, like 100%. There was this one question, this one topic as well that I used to struggle on a lot in algebra, which was simultaneous equations. I remember the moment when I finally figured out the answer to this one question and everything sort of clicked.
And what was that thing that clicked though?
It was more of the, the brackets and everything, just sort of having to sub that into the other like bracket.
Okay, fair enough.
So that was the bit which I found the most difficult, and when it clicked, I was over the moon.
Yeah, okay, cool, good. So the next thing I want to go on to, Jane, is how did you find the online group class environment? Just talk me through that a little bit.
The environment, I found it inviting, if anything, because I could really sort of express where I needed help and where my strengths were as well. It just gave me like a general overall like boost of confidence as to who I was as a person, just like even outside of the classroom. So.
Good. And how did you feel though, like in terms of your ability in respect to the rest of the class? Do you feel like it was the class that you were in was aligned with what you needed?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because most of the topics that we were going through, it was sort of like a common topic between everyone else in the class at the time.
So it was all relevant.
Yeah.
Lovely, good. And then the next thing I want to go on to is like, did you ever feel shy asking questions, or were you pretty comfortable? Like you didn't feel, how did you feel about that?
No, I'd like to believe I was never shy at all. I always used to participate actively and put my hand up whenever I had an issue with anything.
Good. You didn't have no problems with
No.
that. Good. I mean, Rakesh, I know you were saying to me earlier, but you were normally present, right, in the lesson in the back and stuff. I mean,
that's right. Yeah. So
what was your experience of it listening in?
No, I think it was very positive. I could see that the tutor was very good, and Jane was always wanting to answer the question. I could hear him say, "I know the answer to that," and he'd put his hand up. But what I also liked was the fact that you gave everyone an opportunity. So rather than just saying to one person answer the question, it was spread around to all the other students. So that was very good. But he was always engaged, and he thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a very good experience.
That's great to hear. I mean, I think you're one of the few parents you were actually present in the lessons, and you can firsthand say, right? I mean,
absolutely right. Absolutely right. We wanted to make sure that you were providing the service that you said you were going to do, and we obviously got a vested interest in our son being educated, so it all worked out fine.
The next thing I wanted to go through was like How was the out of hours support? Because I know there were times where you've asked questions out of class. How was that whole experience?
I was like quite happy with the responses that I got because you can't really sort of text your school teacher, be like, I need to help on this question, can you please explain it?
Yeah.
But there were a number of occasions where I did actually text yourself in order for some guidance on some questions.
Yeah.
So I felt confident enough to do that. So
That's perfect. And I was actually saying, I even got the screenshot, I mean, on our chat, but you said, could you explain this question to me? I'll put it in on the video so you can see it, but it's just like it's one of these shape questions, hexagon, and I think it's a few days before the exam.
yeah.
Oh, we got it answered, and I think your responses are understanding now. Thanks. I feel more prepared walking into the exam now.
I think that's a real good, additional resource from yourselves, making yourself available, and it's sometimes things come into your head, and it could be at odd hours, and it's really good that you're approachable. Yeah,
Isn't it, rather than sit there thinking, waiting to get an answer. I mean, I know we've spoken already quite far now, but I just want to clarify. I mean, did you actually enjoy the classes?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, the classes had an enjoyable, inviting atmosphere, and like I said earlier, it sort of really pushed me to do my best and sort of really set that ground level baseline for me to sort of work on, because I had already outlined where my weaknesses were.
Yeah.
So I just sort of used the classes in order to better myself, to sort of push myself into reaching that goal.
That's great. I know you was talking about earlier, but what was the one thing that sort of you enjoyed a lot?
It was the humor, yeah. It was the humor, 100%. Some of the jokes, some of just like the humor in general really had me cracking up. So it was honestly really heartwarming.
That's good. At least that way it sort of takes the pressure off, right? Being in a class, you doesn't feel as much of like school, right? I think that's the main thing. So the next thing I want to go on to, Jane, is what grades did you end up achieving in your sciences and your maths?
For my maths GCSE, so before I was on a grade 4.
Yeah.
And in my actual exam, I achieved a grade 6.
Yeah.
For my sciences, I was on a grade 5 before. In the actual exam, I achieved a grade 6, but I had a remark, and that remark boosted my grade to a grade 7.
So you end up from 5 to 7, and
Yeah.
you said the remark was quite a lot of marks.
Yeah.
It's around what, 8 marks?
It was around 8 marks, yeah.
It's crazy. And even for the maths, right, I think from the 6, you said you weren't actually too far from 7. So how many marks were the roughly?
I was around 4 marks off.
Yeah, so you nearly would have got 7 as well. So next, what I want to ask you, Jane, is what are you doing now? I mean, after you got your results, what did you end up doing, and where are you now in sort of your progress in life?
After GCSEs and achieving the grades that I did, I decided to study all 3 sciences at A level, so A level bio, A level chem, A level physics. Yeah, it's sort of like my goal to study medicine, and this is just a path that I'm taking in order to reach that goal.
That's amazing. You're going to year 13 now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're doing this chat 1 year later, but I mean, you're going to do into year 13 and hopefully you'll be doing your application soon, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, this is a question to Jayan and to Rakesh, both of you. I mean, what was your collective experience like with the tutors and the team at Mobile Tutors?
My experience with like the team in general, initially, let me just put it out there, I was like really grateful because everyone helped me better myself and improve my grades to like where I wanted to get to. I can confidently say now that I'm proud of myself. Yeah. And I'm just like really like happy as to the grades that I did get.
You did very well. You should be proud of yourself. And how about you, Rakesh? What's your experience like?
Well,
I hope it was good.
From having somebody who needed some help to improve his grades, it's you're taking a chance onto who you're going to use to help you, and we made the right decision, as I said earlier. He improved his grades. The whole experience was really good. The staff have been very good, and it's all been a very, very positive experience. So yeah, as Jayan said, he's managed to do what he wanted to do. So we're all working forward.
I'm glad to onwards and upwards from here, right, Jayan? I mean,
yeah, 100%.
See you flourish in the future. So best keep me up to date. All right, lovely. So the next question is a bit different. So I'm going to ask you first, Jayan, then I'll ask you Rakesh afterwards. But Jayan, what was the single most thing that you liked about your whole experience at Mobile Tutors?
I've got to say the environment and the atmosphere, because I think that without having sort of humor and without having the sort of inviting environment, it would have been sort of the same thing as a general classroom, you know, because there's not going to be really much difference. I think that sort of like boosted everything in terms of like my confidence academically as well, because, you know, increased confidence, increased grades. That's sort of how I looked at it. Yeah.
No, I'm glad to hear. How about you, Rikesh? What was the single most thing you think as a parent you found?
Actually, it has two parts to it, really, because what you do is you look at your child, and if you see him develop and flourish and improve, that's as a direct result of the work that the tutors have put in. So it's 50-50, isn't it? So it's both. It's a result that can't happen, you know, without your help. So
glad to hear. I mean, that is the main thing we wanted, right? Was the improvement in the grades fundamentally, you know?
Absolutely.
Everything. So I'm glad we got that. So the next thing I want to ask either of you, but is if you could go back in time and just tell yourself before you started the whole process, one thing about how it would go, what would you tell yourself?
Well, for me personally, I would 100% just tell myself to just believe, you know, in general, because having that like firm, strong belief in yourself, like, even in those times where you realize, oh, you're not exactly hitting the mark which you want to hit, it can seem daunting, and it did seem daunting for me. So just giving myself that extra bit of support initially, I think I could have done a whole lot better than I did. But nonetheless, I'm still like happy with where I am.
I hope we made you able to believe in yourself. You did.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have made an improvement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have just stayed. So you've done very well. Yeah. Just a final few things before we wrap up, Jayan. I want to ask you is firstly, like, was there something about the whole experience that you didn't know that you'd end up loving, but you actually did?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was mainly the recorded videos, like during lessons. So every lesson, you know, it was recorded, and I usually wouldn't use recorded videos in terms of my revision.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because you have to sit there focused, right, and watch this thing back. But
yeah,
did you actually end up liking it?
I found it really useful because, you know, it's sort of a self-reflection as well, because you can see yourself and hear yourself actively participating as well.
Exactly. So it brings you back to that time, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just helps you remember, if anything.
That's great. So finally, before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, I mean, Jayan and Rikesh, I mean, would you recommend mobile tutors? And if so, why?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'd recommend mobile tutors because, you know, I'm not just saying this from like a personal point of view, I'm just saying as just generally as well. It really helped me, you know, just being in that sort of environment in the first place, just an environment where you can bet yourself. And I know I keep being a bit repetitive over it, but it's one of the main points which I believe sort of stood out in my eyes. Yeah, so it was just that whole atmosphere. It really just sort of betters you as an individual, like despite the academic side of it.
It's lovely. And how about you, Rikesh?
So
I hope you would recommend, but you tell me.
absolutely,
Be honest.
What we just heard is exactly what every parent would want to hear from their child, you know, who is getting the tuition, and the whole experience has been very good. It's been rewarding, and you know, you're providing exactly what you're saying. So that's what we wanted, and we're very happy with that. So yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend you.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you found it useful and you enjoyed it and you made the improvement. I mean, but yeah, look, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I do really appreciate your time. I just want to say, I mean, Rikesh and Jay, I mean, they've come about an hour to our office here in Essex. So thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for coming down and taking the time to share your experience. And it's been a pleasure working with you, Jay, and well done on the improvement, and just keep us up to date. Might need you in the future when you're that doctor and not feeling well, you know.